Caribbean waters, International Zone 2:47 afternoon. Brilliant sunshine, unobstructed sight lines. USS Gravely Arleigh Burke destroyer advancing at routine surveillance velocity. Anti-smuggling operations, standard navigation rights mission thoroughly verified via orbital observation. Suddenly, Venezuelan tracking systems activated. Single enforcement craft departed from territorial boundaries. Guayari-class maritime patrol vessel, 79 meters length, equipped with 76mm forward cannon plus defensive armaments. Distance shrinking velocity, 30 knots trajectory aimed squarely at American warship. Every maneuver observable under daytime illumination. At 2:51 afternoon, the Venezuelan craft initiated bombardment. Artillery splashed ocean surface 70 meters before USS Gravely's forward section, unmistakably visible. Captured through numerous platforms, recorded not defensive signaling, a calculated challenge engineered to gauge American reaction, compelled the warship from international territory, showcased Venezuelan readiness to intensify. Caracas assumed they had strategized flawlessly. Single American warship separated within Caribbean expanse, encircled by Venezuelan maritime installations 12 miles from Allied harbors, compelled the craft to retreat, declare triumph, embarrass Washington. However, Venezuela committed 4 devastating strategic errors. Initially, USS Gravely wasn't separated. 2 Virginia-class stealth submarines were monitoring beneath, soundless, undetectable, positioned. Subsequently, the warship's Aegis weapons platform had been monitoring the Venezuelan craft for 47 minutes. Every action documented, targeting calculations already processed. Additionally, a USP-8 Poseidon reconnaissance aircraft was circling 60 miles northward. Detection equipment active, information transmitting everything to Maritime Command instantaneously. Finally, patience isn't vulnerability, it's deliberate, and deliberation supported by decisive strength is the most perilous circumstance an opponent can encounter. What transpired during the following 31 minutes became the most accurate demonstration of measured maritime power in Caribbean engagement since Cold War. This is that chronicle. What occurs when accuracy confronts aggression? When single ordnance responds to bombardment, the outcome will transform gray zone confrontation. Subscribe immediately so you won't miss how contemporary maritime strength actually functions. The Caribbean has remained a counter-trafficking zone for generations. U.S. naval destroyers patrol international zones, intercepting contraband vessels, surveilling smuggling corridors, preserving navigation freedom, legitimate operations, documented operations, operations executed in complete view of orbital monitoring, and international witnesses. 20 billion in contraband traverses these zones yearly. Cocaine from Colombia, manufactured substances from hidden facilities, all traveling northward toward American destinations through Caribbean maritime corridors. USS Gravely had been functioning in these zones for 6 weeks. Component of Operation Southern Spear, 17 vessels deployed, 4,000 personnel and infantry. The objective: disrupt Venezuelan trafficking connections, maintain American visibility, demonstrate that international zones remain international despite Caracas's declarations. By October 2025, the operation had interrupted 43 contraband shipments, captured 18 vessels, recovered 17 tons cocaine, all without discharging weapons. But Venezuela was intensifying. For 3 weeks, Venezuelan patrol craft had been executing gray zone intimidation, approaching American vessels, broadcasting alerts, asserting authority over zones 200 miles from their territory, testing limits, examining responses, advancing toward confrontation. Each interaction pushing somewhat further, each challenge somewhat more hostile. Intelligence revealed Caracas was pursuing an episode, something they could record, something they could utilize internally to showcase defiance of American strength. At 10:30 morning, USS Gravely received priority communication from U.S. Southern Command. Intelligence revealed probable Venezuelan. Challenge patrol craft departing from Puerto Cabello, weaponized, objective unclear. Commander Sarah Mitchell, Gravely's commanding officer, ordered elevated preparedness. All personnel, this is the commanding officer. Venezuelan maritime movement elevated. We remain in international zones executing legitimate operations. Maintain disciplined stance. All defensive platforms to complete preparedness. This may become significant. What Commander Mitchell didn't inform her personnel. Intelligence suggested Venezuela was organizing a visible confrontation, discharge warning bombardment, compel American departure, record the complete interaction, apply it for internal messaging, demonstrate that Maduro's administration could oppose U.S. naval warships and succeed. At 1:15 afternoon, the Venezuelan patrol craft materialized on detection. Guayir-class vessel displacement 1,720 tons weaponized with one Otomalara 76mm cannon, one Ower-Lacan Millennium 35mm defensive weapon platform, two 12.7mm automatic weapons capable of transporting a helicopter personnel of approximately 60, expense $85 million. The craft maintained separation initially, trailing gravely at 12,000 meters, broadcasting alerts over maritime communication, asserting the American warship was breaching Venezuelan territorial zones. Incorrect. Gravely was functioning 37 nautical miles from Venezuelan territory, clearly within international zones, thoroughly documented by GPS, orbital monitoring, and numerous independent confirmation platforms. At 2:20 afternoon, the Venezuelan craft changed trajectory, advancing angle, velocity increasing to 30 knots, separation diminishing rapidly. At 2:35 afternoon, Commander Mitchell initiated general alarm. General alarm, all personnel to combat positions. This is not practice. Venezuelan patrol craft advancing hostilely. Defensive platforms armed. We are permitted defensive response if attacked. Stay focused. Inside Gravely's tactical information facility, the situation was perfectly clear. Aegis SPY-1D detection monitoring the Venezuelan craft accurately, targeting processors determining intercept calculations continuously. SM-2 anti-aircraft ordnance positioned in vertical deployment bays, capable of targeting maritime objectives. Phalanx defensive weapon platform operational. 5-inch Mark 45 forward cannon prepared. 96 vertical deployment bays weaponized, each one capable of deploying Tomahawk distance missiles, SM-2 interceptors, or anti-submarine projectiles. The warship transported more armament than the complete Venezuelan maritime fleet combined. At 2:47 afternoon, the Venezuelan craft advanced to 8,000 meters, then initiated bombardment. Boom, boom, boom. 76mm projectiles, 3 rounds impacting into ocean 70 meters from Garley's forward section. Detonations unmistakably observable in daytime illumination. Ocean columns erupting, not unintentional, not defensive. Projectiles in protected trajectory. Projectiles intentionally positioned to threaten, to challenge, to compel reaction. Commander Mitchell confirm hostile, so discharge all defensive platforms, respond as required. Navigation, modify trajectory 01 theme. Advance velocity to 25 knots. Generate separation, provide them single opportunity to de-intensify. USS Gravely changed trajectory, not escaping, repositioning. Maneuvering into unobstructed ocean where detection coverage enhanced, where response geometry advantaged American platforms where uncertainty vanished. Each maneuver documented, each moment recorded, everything observable to orbital witnesses, to the P-8 overhead, to the submarines beneath. This was operational geometry. Every trajectory modification increased American superiority, transported the response away from territorial interference, where detection effectiveness deteriorated, away from shallow zones where submarines couldn't operate into unobstructed ocean where American detection dominance became absolute. The Venezuelan personnel observed a warship modifying trajectory. Commander Mitchell observed a strategic board where every element was advancing into perfect arrangement. The Venezuelan personnel interpreted the action differently. The American warship hadn't discharged return. It had modified trajectory, seemed to be generating separation. To them, this appeared like achievement. Force implemented, outcome accomplished. The approach was succeeding. They transmitted Caracas. American craft maneuvering away, operation successful. They were catastrophically mistaken. At 2:53 afternoon, the Venezuelan craft sustained pursuit, advancing angle again. Velocity unchanged. Hostile stance maintained. At 2:55 afternoon, Commander Mitchell received permission from Maritime Command. Gravely, you are authorized for defensive response. Eliminate the danger. Reduce intensification. Accuracy over devastation. Commander Mitchell, targeting control. Designate the Venezuelan craft. Calculation for propulsion and detection. Single ordnance. Incapacitate. Do not annihilate. Make this precise. At 2:56 afternoon, USS Gravely's Mark 41 vertical deployment platform initiated. 1 SM-2 Block 3 ordnance deployed. White flame unmistakably observable in sunlight. Propulsion motor igniting ordnance ascending then descending toward designation. Semi-active detection guidance secured on Venezuelan patrol craft. Not designating personnel quarters, not designating ammunition compartment. Designating the craft's propulsion compartment and detection assembly. The Venezuelan personnel had approximately 11 seconds to comprehend what was occurring. At 2:57 afternoon, the SM-2 impacted aft of the Venezuelan crafts. Superstructure accuracy strike. Explosive detonation not engineered to submerge the craft, engineered to render it operationally ineffective. Detonation combustion. Black vapor observable for miles. Propulsion platforms annihilated. Diesel motors offline. Controllable pitch mechanisms incapacitated. Detection equipment damaged. Transmission assemblies destroyed. The patrol craft lost energy, lost detection, lost authority and management. Immobilized in the ocean, drifting simultaneously. USS Gravely's Phalanx CIWS initiated. 2 small automated aerial platforms had been deployed from the Venezuelan craft minutes previously. Surveillance machines observing the response. Broadcasting footage back to Caracas. Phalanx detection secured. 20mm M61 Vulcan barrel rotated, 45,500 rounds per minute. Tungsten penetration rounds streaming through clear daytime atmosphere. Initial machine disintegrated, subsequent annihilated. Wreckage descending into ocean. Airspace secured. Complete response duration 43 seconds. USS gravely damaged, nothing. Venezuelan craft propulsion annihilated. Detection offline. Transmission destroyed. Immobilized in the ocean, personnel surviving, craft intact but eliminated. At 3:01 afternoon, Commander Mitchell transmitted U.S. Southern Command. Venezuelan craft incapacitated, no longer a danger, observing for rescue engagements. Request medical support if required. The reaction came instantly. Gravely, sustain arrangement, Coast Guard resources approaching, record everything. This one's going to W to be analyzed for generations. Within minutes, Venezuelan government media began transmitting assertions of American hostility, unwarranted assault on peaceful patrol craft, warship attacking on smaller craft executing legitimate territorial protection operations, complete invention, but orbital photography told the reality, high-resolution images in flawless daytime conditions. Venezuelan craft attacking initially, projectiles impacting near USS Gravely. American warship maneuvering to generate separation, Venezuelan craft pursuing hostilely, then accurate American countermeasure, single ordnance, precise strike, craft incapacitated but not annihilated, all observable, all recorded, all irrefutable. Within hours, the planet knew Venezuelan patrol craft attacks on U.S. warship in international zones. USS Gravely responds with measured attack. Venezuelan craft eliminated in under single minute, nothing American injuries. Venezuelan messaging assertions contradicted by photographic proof unmistakably observable in sunlight. International response was instant. U.S. naval demonstrates accuracy and patience in Caribbean confrontation. Venezuela's challenge backfires dramatically. Warship incapacitates attacking craft without intensification. Caracas's error exposed by orbital documentation. The 60 Venezuelan personnel members were recovered by their own maritime guard within 2 hours. All survived. The incapacitated patrol craft was transported back to Puerto Cabello. Repairs calculated at $32 million. Functional preparedness months away. Commander Mitchell received recognition for disciplined management of hostile response. Personnel returned to routine engagements within 12 hours. Operation continued without disruption. The tactical consequences were enormous. Venezuela had attempted to compel an American warship out of international zones through bombardment. Expense advantage evaluation. $85 million patrol craft incapacitated. $32 million in repairs. International disgrace. Messaging disaster. All recorded in brilliant sunlight. American expenditure 1 SM-2 ordnance, approximately 3 million phalanx ammunition. Insignificant expense result. Danger eliminated. Personnel protected operation. Uninterrupted deterrence strengthened, that's a calculation. Venezuela can't sustain like purchasing a costly automobile to compete recklessly with a freight locomotive, technically feasible, statistically unwise. China observed, attentively saw accurate American reaction, witnessed how rapidly gray zone challenge became precise. Countermeasure recognized that patience doesn't mean uncertainty, determined what occurs when you challenge US naval warships in international zones. The response: you forfeit your craft's functional capability in under single minute, all observable to international witnesses, all recorded in sunlight. Beijing's maritime strategists revised their evaluations. American warships functioning in challenge zones aren't susceptible designations. They're trapped connected to decisive strength. Russia witnessed different lessons. Recognize that American warships functioning separately aren't actually separate. Submarines beneath, aircraft overhead, orbital coverage, thorough maritime command networks. Gray zone approaches succeed only when the opposing side selects to accept them. When acceptance concludes, imbalance becomes severe. Moscow acknowledged the structure. Every American maritime combatant functions as connection in coordinated network. Challenge single craft, confront complete platform. But most significantly, every territorial navy operating patrol craft discovered the essential difference. Attacking warning projectiles near American warships doesn't showcase power. It showcases fundamental miscomprehension of how contemporary maritime confrontation functions. The distinction between examining and challenging is calculated in moments, and moments are determined by targeting processors that don't compromise. Why does this significance beyond single incapacitated patrol craft? Because it exposed Venezuela's critical constraint. They can intimidate, they can challenge, they can attack warning projectiles in sunlight for messaging objectives. But against precision-guided maritime platforms supported by orbital monitoring and maritime coordination, intimidation becomes costly instruction. This is the actuality every territorial authority must comprehend. Contemporary maritime confrontation isn't about craft versus craft. It's about networked platforms versus separated units. Aegis warships don't confront separately. They confront as component of elimination sequences covering satellites, submarines, aircraft, and maritime authority. Venezuela challenged single warship. They activated reaction from complete infrastructure. The incapacitated Venezuelan patrol craft sits harbside in Puerto Cabello today. Memory of the afternoon when Caracas challenged whether bombardment could compel American departure from international zones. Response arrived in 43 seconds. Single ordnance, precise strike, propulsion annihilated, detection offline, craft eliminated, personnel surviving, all recorded, all observable, all irrefutable. Venezuela attempted to threaten a US naval warship. Instead, they financed a showcase of why you don't attack on American warships in brilliant sunlight, like attempting to frighten a monitoring camera by shouting at it. The camera doesn't respond, but someone's observing and they're capturing very comprehensive records. If this evaluation helps clarify contemporary maritime deterrence, distribute it with someone who requires perspective on Caribbean authority dynamics.